Hello and welcome to the stream. You join us here for a test flight. This is the very latest version of the Toliss Airbus A321. I have the Neo variant. We're on the ground here in southern Florida, right not too far away from Miami. And it's also the latest version of Xplane 12. It's Xplane 12.08 Beta 2 to be precise. So as I record this, middle of November 2023. It's the latest version of both. As you can see, it's pretty dark. And as I've been waiting, in fact, there we go. There is the occasional flicker of lightning. This is a completely unplanned flight, which means we're just going to be freestyling it, basically. So let's go ahead, jump inside the cockpit. I'm going to do away with the music there. Game sounds on. So we'll see just what it looks like. This is, as we see, conducted at night. And I realise that's not everybody's thing, but you know what? Suck it up. Lifetime live weather is what it is. Right, ground services then. External power is apparently on. So are the chocks. So we'll see what we can do with that. And just before I continue, I am just going to grab a load here. Just going to make one up. So let's go 122 passengers. We'll put a bit of cargo on. And we'll go for that much. Fuel weights, should I say, rather imperial here. So 16,400 pounds. So let's go for a quick refuel. We've applied the load settings. That's enough there. Let's see if we can make a start. So coming upstairs. And she springs to life. Alright, external power on. Still seeing the flicker of the lightning, which is great. Batteries 1 and 2. And with that, we'll get the IRSs going 1, 2, and 3. Cruise supply on. We'll get the recorder on. And fuel tanks left, center, and right. We will also arm the emergency lights. I like that they've integrated the scroll wheel movement now for the controls. That was something that was in the later Toliss Airbuses, but not yet in the A321. It was in the A340 as standard. So you just move the scroll wheel in the way that it looks like you should move it. There we go. Actually, I've never taken a look at the emergency lights, so let's have a look. See what they actually look like. Oh yes, I can. There we go. So I guess maximum cabin lighting, is that to do with the emergency lighting? I don't know. You would have thought not. But maybe it is. I was expecting to see emergency lights everywhere. One of the things actually about the 737 is that the emergency lights also turn on a bunch of lights on the outside of the aircraft that you never normally get to see, and I was thinking maybe it's the same with the Airbus. Doesn't appear to be. There doesn't actually appear to be any external lighting whatsoever with that. Alright, let's carry on. That's enough of that. We'll set that back to normal. There was a few new failures added apparently to the A321, one of which was, I seem to recall, hydraulics overheating. I have absolutely no idea what that would do, how deeply it is simulated, what the symptoms are, or indeed what would cause such a thing, or what the effects would be, but I'll tell you what, we will find out in the stream today. Alright, no smoking signs on for boarding then. We'll turn the nav lights on as well, and the emergency lights are off. Aircraft's already aligning. We'll set that into plan. Actually, we'll put it into the airport page, seeing as this is completely unplanned. And so there you go, there's the data, latest Dirac cycle. We happen to be right in the middle of that there. So there's the data. Over to the init page. We are beginning our flight at Kilo Hotel Sierra Tango. So if we take a little look. Actually what I'm going to do is bring Avitab over here so we don't get sick as I turn my head. Airport page. Kilo Hotel Sierra Tango, and we'll see Homestead ARB, which is not AFB, but Homestead. We'll change this to night mode. So there we are. It's actually a decently long runway, but the airport, I'm not sure what sort of an airport it is. Maybe it is a military airport. There was only actually 5 parking spaces I could choose from. And sometimes the military airports are less detailed, you know, on the airport page than regular. And for an airport this size in such a busy place of the world, I suspect that's probably the case. You see, there are actually plenty of arrival and departure procedures, despite only having a grossly simplified airport page. Regardless, we'll take it, seeing as that's where we are. Kilo Hotel Sierra Tango. We're in a slash. And we'll go to just wherever the flight fancies today. Remember when I was a kid well, yeah, a kid. And in sort of my younger 20s when, you know, flight sims were a lot simpler than they are today. You basically needed a lot of imagination as you were doing it. Every single flight I ever did was freestyling. I never planned anything. You know, stuff like SimBrief and whatnot just didn't exist. In fact, the internet didn't really exist for the first part of it. Did for universities, but nobody had one at home, regardless. So, I know, we'll take a fly down here. I think these are known as the Florida Keys down here. And Key West, I believe, is the southernmost town. Or is it a city? I don't know, but I think it's a town. Either way, it's the southernmost, let's just call it a town, in the United States of America. It's actually further south than anywhere over here, which actually appears that this spot here is the as far south as you can go, just on the border with Mexico. So on the eastern side of the US with regards to where it touches Mexico. Mexico eating further into the north of the US the further west we go. Anyway, that's enough of the geography lesson, because we're gonna do this right here. So let's have a look. Key West. Let's switch this over to IFR. Actually, we'll go IFR low, because I guess we're not going to be flying that high. And there we get the Key West, which actually has got the best ICAO code I think I've ever seen. Key and a W, most like any other. So there we go. Key West. Bang. Flight number, I always like to do, as regulars will know, depends on the number of subscribers, and at this moment in time we've got 389, and so internet flight rules 389. There we go. Cost index, I'm just gonna, actually, you know what, I always like to do a sort of low to mid 20s. Let's wrap it up to like a 75. Cruising height, well, how depends on what this distance is really, doesn't it? Which actually doesn't jump out at me. I'm just wondering if I get the distance of one of these legs. This one here, Bravo 646, is 70 nautical miles. And it actually looks like we're doing a give or take just a bit more. Let's call it 100 miles. And so with it, we will actually bust through 10. So let's just go for a cruise at 12. We are trending west, and so we will remain even flight level, because we're not, although this does actually treat 12,000 feet as flight level 120. Obviously, being in the US, that is not the case. Alright, IRS in it. Looks like that's not too far off. Ready. We'll import the winds. This, by the way, lifetime live weather. And I actually got some decent winds down here. 082 at 20 knots. 3,000 feet up to 30 knots. And then reducing a little bit up to 10 before increasing again. Let's see how that impacts us. As we can see, it is stormy weather. And so we will be making use of the weather radar. I don't ever want to get taken out the sky due to stormy weather on live stream again. That was kind of embarrassing that one time it happened. Alright, init page done. Let's come over to the flight plan, and it's just going to be a simple departure here. But just before I do, Kilo Hotel Sierra Tango. Do we have ATIS information? Apparently we do. on 132.27.5. So let's dial that in. 132.27.5.
Deploy 21. Altimeter 299er thought. Arriving runway 06. Departing runway 06. Advise on initial contact. You have information. Kilo.
299.5. 06 is where it's at. That was a nice bit of flicker in there.
010 Zulu special. Wind 080 degrees at 15 knots, gust 27. Visibility 1.
Actually, that is the one that I want. It's the floodlight panel. By that was some flickering. I think this storm's getting worse.
400. Overcast at 12,000. Temperature 22. Deploy 21. Altimeter 299er.
06, she said, didn't she?
06.
Indeed, she did.
06. Advise on initial contact. You have information. Kilo.
Alright, so when it comes to the actual departure, let's have a look. We just need something, and not that one. We need something that... 15 gust in 27. Okay, so this will be... The pressure is on then. Gusty weather and storm. So all these departures actually seem to be borrowed from a neighbouring airfield. Did I click on departures or arrivals here? Because I did click on departures. Instructions. I mean, look at this. We're on the south side of this major airport here, Miami Executive. There's a bunch more airports here, and the departure procedure doesn't begin till we've flown past them all. I guess it's radar vectors until then, but we, again, are interested in the south. So potentially, yeah, it looks like there's nothing really suitable there. All right, with regards to our arrival at Key West, which is, you know, Key W, the easiest, I think that's the easiest ICAO code for an airport I've ever come across. So let's have a look at the approach. Probably going to be a similar direction. If it's 06 here, it's likely to be 09 there, but we will verify. So that means we're flying from the west towards the east. And actually, yeah, a decent, seeing as we are coming from the northwesterly, so northeasterly, I beg your pardon, direction relative to Key West. So that should be the strap here. This seems to be a good one. So that's actually, there is no departure from where we are, because as we see, they're all not really that useful. So we'll temp that in. I'm going to zoom in, and coming over to the waypoint page, actually let's zoom in once more. Just going to freestyle this one. So there's 06. And the first circle, so the dotted line is 2.5 miles away. I don't want to be any further than that, soon as we are heading south. I guess we could go to the, let's just call it what it says, Willie, with a WW. Jam that in there, no pun intended. Alright, so from Willie, I want to head south. Because the visibility ain't great. And again, just freestyling this. We've got Wayne down there. There we go. And I will now just zoom in a little bit because we've got loads of waypoints on there. Let's see if we can... There we go. Alright, so as we scroll through, there's Wayne. We now want to come slightly further to the west. I'm going to go with Osty. And then from there, I think I'm going to go direct to Strap. As we can see, that's our first waypoint on the arrival here. On the approach, should we say. There was no arrival. Right, temp all that in, and then at Key West, arrival, it's the ANAV 9, I believe. Indeed it is. There is no star, and that is via Strap. Bang, no transition. Boom, and with it we should be good to go. We just see that our notification that the IRS has aligned as well, and so with it, APU master on. We know people have got on. We'll put the signs on. Wait. 3, 2, 1. And we'll start the APU. Yeah, so we will try the failures with regards to overheat and see how well that performs. Floodlight in. Let's actually get this armrest out the way. I can see that being a bother. Dial the floodlighting down, and I'm going to come up here. And I'm aware normally you'd keep this on so ground crew can see your hand gestures and whatnot, but you know what? It's a game and they can't. And just to give the lighting a bit better chance. Yeah, the lightning effects actually look pretty good, but when you see the lightning itself, it still looks really pants. It's still just a bunch of ziggity zaggedy white lines. There's no, you know, there you see it, saw it perhaps. You know, they could really do it better. You know, even if they just made the white lines glow that weird bluish, purplish, hazy glow that there is around lightning. I mean, that would already look a bunch better, but I don't know. What do I know? Alright, so here we go. Somebody say, what are you, some kind of a weather expert? No. Right, diff. For radios, I think we're just going to leave these on automatic and be lazy today, seeing as the Airbus is the lazy pilot's plane. Come over back to the init, page 2. Let's grab the weights for today. Actually, I'll tell you what, we'll try and make use of this fancy performance page here, which was, you know, it wasn't the latest addition to the Toliss, but it's relatively new. And so we will reset this to current because we did tinker with the weights and the passengers somewhat when we got in. And we'll see if we can make it work from this. Actually, does it have an here? So again, we will reset this. All of that, we've got the winds and everything there. So there's the airport. Kilo Hotel Sierra Tango, runway 6. We'll go full length, no intersection. So I guess we can change the drop down. So runway conditions is, well, it's very clearly wet. Half water and a quarter and half water. This, so as far as I'm aware, that's like standing water. So, which is actually worse than it being wet. But I'm just going to go with wet. Anti-ice, certainly not required. We see their temperatures 21 degrees. We'll have to keep an eye on that though, because it is stormy. If we get in the clouds and whatnot, could very quickly change. I've had ice take me down in airliners before in Xplane. Thrust, standard air conditioning will keep on if possible. Flap configuration, we'll leave that auto. Let's run those numbers. And there we see. Big nice graphical piece of information, but all that it says to me is you've got loads of room. In fact, depending on where we choose to V1, either at 109 up to 145 knots. I like that it actually lets you choose. You can see there on the minimum speed, we would have 7,700 odd feet stop margin. If we go right up to 145, that reduces down to 2,850 feet. I think oftentimes I've noticed the V1 speed in the Toliss is the same as the VR. Typically in Boeing it's at least a knot or two apart. I don't know why there is that difference. Because it's so wet and stormy, I'm actually going to knock it down to like, let's go 135. Rotate 45, that's obviously fixed, and V2 is 47. First off though, I do need the zero fuel weight, so where are we? Does that have this on this page? No, I've got to go back. Zero fuel weight is 143.2. 143.2. And the CG, if anybody does chat and I happen to miss it, 1,000 apologies, it is pretty late. As you can tell, because I am actually from where my accent would suggest. And yes, this is actually the time where I live right now, UTC. Alright, so the CG, the zero CG, there it is, 28.5. Block fuel, is what we set it at, which I can't remember, but if I, where are we here? Fuel 16.4. Does that actually marry with this? This actually says 16.4, so that is good to know. 16.4. Bang. Wait a moment or two, let everything populate. Actually does it very quickly. So reckons flight time of only 26 minutes. Okay, great. So with that, over to the performance page and back to the performance page. And again, we was going with 35, 45, 47. 35, 45, 47, and that was a flaps 1, I assume. Flaps 1 it is, with 0 on the trim, so aircraft nicely balanced. And flexing, it was actually quite a high flex, 74. I can't remember if you put the F in front or not on this one. No, you don't. Some buses you do and some don't. I can never remember which is which. Alright, so takeoff information there, GPS primary, so that means we're good to go. So we'll put the flight plan live on yours. Mine's there. APU's up and running, so I'm going to put the APU bleed on. We hear the packs come alive. External power off. And actually those packs sounded really solid. Alright, let's come over. It doesn't actually look like we need a pushback. No, we don't. I think we can get started from where we are. Come on, where is this? There we go. Ground services. Get rid of the external power. Going to get rid of the chocks as well. Get rid of that. So let's switch over to the arc because we are ready to go. We'll put the constraints on. Cruising, as we said, is 12. So I'm just going to... We'll go straight up to 12. But I may... Actually, you know what? Let's have an intermediate climb. Let's just check what the MSA for the immediate area is. No way is it 15,000 feet in South Florida. How is that? How is it 15,000 feet at Key West? That must be because there must be some foreign territory in the area and it doesn't want you. There's no way there is a mountain at 15,000 feet within 25 miles of Key West. Anyway, seeing as we are departing from Homestead, let's just have a look where it says here. In case it all goes wrong in any case, we want to be back on ILS runway 6. I'll turn that icon off for cheating. There we see the MSA for here is 2.9. So yeah, let's climb to 3,000 for now. And I guess because we are going to turn rando failures on, let's do it all proper like and come over to the secondary flight plan and rig that. So we'll copy the active into the secondary. And on departure, we'll come back to the plan page. See, we're taking off in this direction, facing northeast, and then turning right slightly to Willie. In other words, if anything is wrong, we will certainly know about it by Willie. So from Willie, that will be my cue to return to Kilo Hotel Sierra Tango, new destination. From there, arrival, it will be the runway we depart on, in other words, ILS 6. What's the difference between Yankee and Zulu, you ask? Good question. Let's have a look. The first one that we see here is Zulu. And this one actually looks pretty good because it's got this nice little DME arc at 16 miles. This one here is the Yankee, which actually is laid out much nicer. This one here actually seems to be set up for TACANs as well. So, usually you only see this at military air base, 19 X-ray, which is also found on 10820. That's when it's at Owen and airliner. Alright, so overall, these are looking pretty similar. This one actually has got the nav code in with the TACAN, so I guess those are the differences. So this is probably the civilian version of the approach, and this one's probably the military version. I say probably because I don't know for sure, but there's probably the big giveaway. It's got the military one's got category echo possibility down there. The civilian version does not. So there you go. The category echo being the faster military aircraft, not necessarily heavier. All right, there we go. So I think that answers that question. Legally, we're on the Zulu. Although we could do the Yankee, but we'll do the Zulu. There is no star. And via, because we'll be in this northeasterly sort of direction, coming through Jomin, I think would be suitable. So there we go. Again, that's only if it all goes wrong. No trans, bang. And with it, the only other thing we need to do on the secondary page is come to the performance. We can skip takeoffs out because, well, the only thing we'll be doing if it all goes wrong is coming back. Altimeter was 2995. Temperature, as we see here, is 23 degrees. Now that storm's pretty bad again. And the winds were, according to... Let's just listen.
Bus, arriving runway 06, departing runway 06. Advise on initial contact you have information kilo.
Alright, and while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and make a start on the engines.
Information kilo 0010 Zulu special. Wind 080 degrees at 15 knots, gust 27. Visibility
15 gusting 27 sounds good, but 080 at 15, there we go.
At 2,400. Overcast at 12,000.
And the minimums with regards to the ILS is 200 radal, 205 on the barrel. There we go.
Advise on initial contact you have in.
Okay, great. All right, the beacon is on. We're going to be squawking, because I can't squawk 8s and 9s. Again, as I always say, around it down. So, although we've got 0389 as the flight number, it's going to have to be 0377. That's as high as I can get it until we get 400 subscribers on. Either way, let's put the alt report mode on, put the starter switch on, and I am just going to check that the doors are closed. Should have perhaps done that before I pressed the start switch, but indeed it is. All doors are green, slides appear armed, and so with it, let's start number 2. We'll switch this back to the arc, and we'll switch this back to flight plan number 1 and performance page for flight plan 1. Just noticed the external camera that I like to use a lot, there's a slight motion to it. If you look at it, if I zoom in, it's more apparent. You can see how it's ever so slightly moving. That was not the case before. The external camera, at least the fixed external camera, was just that. I like the little bit of motion to it. But to say, the lightning is still a little bit... I don't know. I can't explain, but it doesn't appear quite 100%. Alright, sounds like we're getting a good start there on number 2. All the figures are still rising. And clicks on available right now. And so with it on can come number 1. I'm going to go ahead, turn predictive wind shear on, set weather to weather and turbulence. We'll turn the actual weather radar on once we're cleared for takeoff. And the cockpit lighting is okay. Just going to turn, actually these are fine as they are. Just perhaps this one here a little dimmer. There we go, that's great. Turn the flood lighting down to almost 0. Same there. On the panels, your sides look good. The autopilot is fine. Just turn the displays. There we go. Down a little dimmer. That's perfect. Other wipers. Yeah, they're still too loud for me. I don't like it. Some modules have actually got that down pretty nicely. And engine number 1 jumping to life. These are the CFMs, if memory serves. You know, the nice big engines that the Airbus 321 Neo has. Do deliver more power, but do take a few moments longer to start up. Again, all operating Imperial on this one, so everything's in pounds, fuel, weight, and all. Alright, so they've both clicked on bus. I'm just going to wait until it actually says avail, and then we'll go ahead, get rid of the APU. There it is. So coming down here, start switch off. APU bleed off, APU off. And so let's just quickly do a flight control check before we start moving. Stick forward, neutral, aft, neutral, rolling left, neutral, rolling right, neutral, left, neutral, right, neutral. Okay, so that appears to be working well. I did say we was going to do failures. I do want to see we've actually appears to be random faults enabled here, although the further you move the slider to the right, the less likely they are to happen. It's based on the mean time between failures, and that's individual, so that means, you know, everything that could go wrong on average will happen once every 250 flights. So that means if there's 250 things on the plane that could go wrong, on average one of those things will go wrong every flight. I think, although, you know, I don't know how many failures Toliss has simulated. I think I read somewhere 400, but I could be way off. In other words, if there's 400 things that could go wrong and we set this to 100, we would expect roughly 4 things to go wrong on a typical flight. So we'll do that. But to make sure that whatever happens there, we do get that new failure, which was the overheat. And again, this is a new fault in the very latest version of the Toliss A321. No idea what it would do. I guess there's some sort of caution, but what comes beyond that, no idea. The channel that led me onto this one was known as the Games with Brains channel. So what I'm going to do, and again, that was just because I like my flight simming, but not everybody did. So I decided to break that off. And so I think for no other reason than that, I'm going to go G and B. So the green system. And to make sure this happens, you know, we'll set it to like 11,000. And then when we're ready to climb to 12,000 feet or whatever, we can have it happen, can't we? And then we'll add a new fault, hydraulic. The brains one. Someone's saying, no, it's blue. And we'll set that. I want it similar height, obviously, so as we're climbing, we'll get notification, and then shortly after, we'll get another one. Alright, so we'll apply, and with that, we should be good to go. And again, we've also got the random faults on top of whatever happens here, so we could get anything there. Hopefully we don't get any random faults kicking off before on the runway, because obviously real life that would be a return to gate situation, although we're not going to do that if it does happen. Alright, so flight controls checks are done, so that means we're ready to go. So turn off lights can come on, nose light to taxi, and parking brakes off. And aircraft is beginning to idle under its own steam. And yeah, if the windscreen gets any more covered in drops, I might have to run the wipers, even though I don't want to. Just gonna increase the power a little bit now to help us go. Again, it is very warm, so there's no risk of icing or slipping. Alright, let's blue to do. Auto brake, max RTO, cabin will ding dong them in a bit. Spoilers, get those to arm. Flaps, flaps 1 is set. Just wait for those to click into place. There they go, they've clicked in and it's gone green. And so with it, as we continue our backtrack towards runway 6, I guess we're on the taxiway, but we're taxiing back regardless. We'll go ahead and do takeoff config. Config pass is normal because we do already have the predictive wind shear turned on, although still, as far as I'm aware, the predictive wind shear, I've never heard it. I'm guessing it's not yet simulated in either the Toliss or Xplane 12. Probably still too complicated. We do, of course, have the regular weather radar, which will turn on my side. And there we see it. Your side, of course, needs to have the terrain enabled. It's like basically the entire area is green, which means there'll be a few bumps and whatnot, but as long as it doesn't go yellow or red, we should be fine. Alright, last but not least then, let's ding dong the cabin, and I always forget if it's the forward or the all or the mechanic. I think it's either forward or mechanic actually, but best bet is to press them all to avoid frustration. Again, because we are freestyling this, there is no minimum fuel to look for on takeoff, but as you can see, we've got £16,000 for a flight that's probably, if we don't mess around, only expected to take maybe 3,000 at most. I'm actually just going to put the wipers on for a couple of moments, so I just have to forgive the squeaking. We'll get rid of them just to make sure we can see well for takeoff. Actually realize how far we were from the end of the runway where we were positioned, or I would have taxied a little quicker. Let's have a little look, and again this page here in case it all goes wrong. There we go, not too far away. I'll tell you what, I think I will actually take the intersection at Bravo 2. So I'm not sure what the takeoff shift on that would be, but it looks like it's going to be at least 1,000 feet. So I'm going to go with 1,500 just to be sure. And the Airbus can update itself accordingly. And I think I am going to increase the flex because of it. So rather than 74, I think we'll go with, let's go with 60. There we go. Right, flaps are set, everything is green to go. Here's our intersection, slowing right down because it's wet and the plane does skid in the wet. It's not magic, unlike some flight simulators that we know. We can land 787s on like 1,000-foot runways, no trouble. Alright, here we go then. We'll assume we've been clear for takeoff, and so with it, transponder will go on. Strobe lights, we'll put those on. Landing lights on. Wing light on. And the nose light can remain as is. Stay on the runway. And I am going to get rid of these wipers now. And their horrible squeaking. Yeah, there is the end of the runway. Probably was closer to 1,000 feet, but regardless, as long as the plane knows. Probably have to run the numbers on this thing as well, and it'll adjust all the V speeds, but it matters not. We're going to go for it. Alright, full stop. Airbus A321neo Internet flight rules 389 clear for takeoff. And so with it, nose light to take off. Start the clock. Wind them up. I've got to hang on to the controls because, of course, random failures, anything could go. Engines are stable. There we go. Flex 60, SRS, runway green, climb blue, nav blue. Of course, 20, what was it? 20 gusting 30, something like that on the winds. Occasionally needing a bit of left rudder, occasionally not, so I can certainly feel the gusts. There's V1. There's rotate. And up we go. Come on, keep going. Certainly can feel that turbulence as we climb there. Wheels up. Turn the sound down so we can get a little flyby. Actually appeared to be entering some sort of cloud or fog or something. The street light's not very visible. Back inside, resume the volume. Thrust from takeoff to climb. Thrust levers are positioned accordingly. I'm still flying it manually for now. Yeah, man, the Airbus is just so much easier than the Boeing just overall. And I realise, you know, that's why some pilots will love it and some will hate it. I was interviewing a pilot recently who flew both, and he said when he was on he flew Airbuses for a long time. Sorry, he flew the Boeings for a long time, and when he was being transitioned over, as he called it, transition training to the Airbus, he said it was known as the Scarebus by pilots at the time because it would do certain things and not do other things. Rolling to the right. Actually said one or two other things about it, and I wish I could share them, but unfortunately it's all I'll say is it's non-PC, non-politically correct, and so I just can't. So you'll have to try and guess what that could possibly be. But it was, again, this wasn't what this pilot thought himself. It was what he, as in they, as a group, were told while they were on training, converting from one to the other. And this guy was a pilot flying the Boeing 727 onto the 737, both the older and the newer type. Then the 75, the 76, and he ended up on the 777 before moving over to the Airbus. Flied both the A319 and the A320. Alright, there we go. So here we are, 3,000 feet, and the weather's looking horrific. Take a look on the terrain. Sometimes I want to call this a radar just because of the way you see these things moving, as though it's updating like a radar, but it's not. It's basically the GPWiz database presented in graphical form. Wayne actually looks to be a point that's over one of the islands that begins, I guess, what you'd call the Florida Keys. I'm not sure if every single one of the islands, even further to the north, it should basically be behind us now, is called the Keys, or if it's only the ones at the very end, but either way, we're over them. I'm going to try dip down, see if we can see them, and then we'll come up and resume course. So I realise we're kind of off course just momentarily. Slightly illegal, but plenty of sort of buzz, isn't it? It's unlikely this would happen and somebody not realise. Oh, there we go. We could actually see some of the islands there in the lightning. There we go again.
Sink rate, sink rate, sink rate, sink rate.
1,000.
Too low. Terrain.
Alright, let's resume then. Up we go.
Too low.
And let's climb to 12,000. I prefer my turn to the right than what the flight director is saying there. I need to only just start banking to the left now, and even then only gently. I'm not sure why the flight director was wanting me to roll to the left as aggressively as it was. I think I gone and done that pretty well. Come on, 12,000 feet. Let's open climb it and put the autopilot in. Right, let's get a little flyby now as she goes, climbing through the soup. I'm not sure you can be struck by lightning in Xplane. I mean, we see there's loads of it about, but I've yet to hear a very loud crack, which is what you would hear if you were struck. Now let's tidy up a bit. I never quite did. So getting rid of the air brakes. Don't forget, could be suffering random failure at any time. Those light off, turn off lights off, cabin crew to remain seated. An altimeter there flashing, but that's not to happen because climb, where are we? Next phase. Next phase. Next phase. And there we go. Actually, transition flight level is in there. 180. So I'm unsure why it's wanting us to change over from local already. Perhaps I missed something earlier on. I must have missed it. Wow, look at the turbulence, man. It's really shaking the aircraft. If this was a Boeing, I'd be getting ready for it to kick the autopilot out, but I guess a similar thing could happen in the Airbus, although we're okay for now. Go ahead, push the range out a bit on this. So they're actually strapped. That's the first waypoint on the RNAV approach. So that's our final waypoint with regards to the flight. It's only 60 miles away. We are now above 10, so let's go ahead and get rid of the landing lights. I'll get rid of the wing lights as well. I think we are going to have to keep everybody seated. And hopefully we'll get something going wrong before too long, and we will keep altimeter local despite the upset here. Look at the autopilot fiddling around with the rudder trim there. Oh, sounds like we do got something here now. MC light is on. Oh, of course, the hydraulic. So this was one of the new, or the latest features with the very recent update to the Airbus A321. For those that missed that from Toliss. Hydraulic systems could overheat, and in this case system blue and green have both overheated, and that is in I just picked blue and green because brains were games, right? The channel it used to be. I do like the way that the Airbus failure system works. Tells you what's up, gives you a blue to do, and shows the relevant screen below. Of course, you could manually cycle to it using these buttons, but I just like the way it does that. And so hydraulic system blue, I guess that's reservoir RSVR, unless it's the reserve, but I guess that, no, I guess it gets reservoir. And it wants as a response the blue pump to be turned off, the PTU to be turned off because the green one's overheating, and green engine 1 pump off. But if we take a look here, I'm just wondering, does it actually show the temperatures? And I can't see it, but let's just go with this. So the Electric pump here needs to be turned off for the blue. So I'm guessing this one by here. So I'm going to open the cover. Just confirm blue electric pump off. Confirm blue electric pump is off. Boost 2 done. Green reservoir overheat. We need the PTU off and then the green engine 1 pump off. So PTU transfer unit is off. Confirm. And now green engine 1 pump off. Green engine 1 pump off. Autopilot's kicked out because I assume now we are flying on very limited flight controls. Hydraulics, green and blue system, low pressure, maneuver with care for go around max pitch 15 degrees, thrust levers, toga, then MCT. So that will be to assist with the go around by having, you know, the thrust from under the engine helps pitch the plane up. Fuel consumption increased. FMS predictions are unreliable. We've got a land ASAP caution, and in red and yellow on flight controls, wheel information. There we see the pressure, it's basically gone. So we're operating exclusively on the yellows. So if the random failures kick the yellow one off now, we've had it. I do wonder if the rat would be able to pressurize the blue hydraulic system in such a case, just so that we're not operating off a single hydraulic system. I don't know. I guess you could, again, I think you can manually kick the rat out here. I think if this was real life, I was flying it, I would certainly opt for the rat if it's possible. Okay, so we've read all of that, so let's clear that. Flight control, alternate law protection lost. Maximum speed 320 knots or max 77. Speed brake do not use. Okay, clear. Clear. I'm trying to press clear here and it's actually... Oh, there we go. It needs your side to clear. There we go. So actually look at all the in-up stuff here. We've got the right elevator only. Left elevator not working at all. I do wonder if we have autopilot your side. No, we do not. And we certainly don't have it my side. So it's manual flying then in the stormy weather. Altitude warning horn because we are climbing, actually wandering off course a bit as well. Just passing there the equal time point. Think in real life as well, if this was happening, I would not pick Florida Key West as my destination because it is quite a short runway. And in weather as challenging as this, although certainly you'd think about doing some at ASAP. We've got the yellow system still powering the rudder. You see left aileron and right aileron. Actually, yellow system looks like pretty much the worst one to use. At least we can trim the pitch. So is this right? We've got no ailerons. No, we don't. So actually we're steering using spoilers only. And even then it's less than half of them. Spoilers 2 and 4 only. You see spoilers 1, 3 and 5 not working. So this is why when I move my stick, I noticed this before, the roll rate is incredibly sluggish versus what you'd normally expect. Alright, let's go ahead and start entering the destination data. So performance page, next, just clear that out. So again, now heading, let's get rid of Kilo Hotel and focus on Key West. And I'm apologizing for this, but again, with no autopilot, seeing as we've lost that setting every time, looks like 300 feet is the magic number, and once we get a little further away than 300 feet from where we should be, the system gets upset. We're getting close to the top of descent, so I am going to have to try and get this done. Keep an eye out on the weather. Right. Key West. I'm going to go with the LNAV VNAV, which is what we're doing. I'm not sure. We're probably are LPV compliant, but with these failures, I'm going to guess no. Let's go for 425 on the barrel. QNH. Let's just see, are we deviating? We're going up a little bit, so let's pitch down. ATIS is 119,675. 119,675.
Conditions scattered at 2,800. Broken at 8,500. Scattered at 11,500. Temperature 20. 2.22. Altimeter 2997. Arriving runway 09er. Departing runway 09er. Advise on initial contact. You have information. Kilo.
2997.
Key West International information. Kilo.
Come on.
0100 Zulu. Wind 0403 at 12. Knots gust 18. Visibility
12
at
gusting
5.
18.
Sky conditions scattered.
Yeah, so that looks like for sure we're going to be on the easterly runway again. So let's set that 2997. Whoops, not that one. There we go. That's the thing with the turbulence on this. As the whole cockpit's juddering around when you've got very precise buttons to click. I guess the way to do it would be to zoom in, but even then it's still juddering. Alright, so we're coming near to top of descent, but it's good there that that's set. Let's continue clearing this out. So there we go, some more failures. That anti-skid system doesn't appear to be working. Normal brakes not working. Alternate brakes are working. Keep an eye on the pressure, so we see it there in the green so far. Auto brake system not working. And, well, there's your failures. I mean, knock yourself out. We've got the dual hydraulic low pressure. If blue, overheat out. Blue hydraulic pump auto. Let's have a look. Do we still have the overheat warning? Well, we've still got the fault light on. If blue overheats, you know. Well, let's just try it.
Scattered at 11,500. Temperature 24. 2.22. Altimeter 2997. Arriving runway 09er. Departing runway 09er. Advise on initial contact. You have
Well, we're at top of descent now. Let's drop it down to 3,000. I'll put it into managed mode even though there's no autopilot. Green pressure low. So did blue pressure work? If blue overheats out, blue electric pump auto. If hydraulic not recovered, landing gear, gravity extension, landing distance procedures apply. Flaps, slats are slow, category 3 single only, or on an RNAV. Well, we've still got the fault light, so I'm going to have to turn that off once more. Rat manual. So I'm going to deploy that. And let's see, with that rat out, I know it wasn't in the procedure. I guess now, look at this, we do have partial pressure in the blue by having manually deployed the rat, which is exactly what I was hoping for. And so, yeah, absolutely. If this was real life and I was suddenly found myself in the cockpit with this failure, I would definitely put the rat out. Because obviously if you lose the yellow system, that's it. You've got no control whatsoever. And I wonder now, do we have the autopilot back? Yes, we do. That's going to make the job a little easier. Let's get rid of the ATIS so I don't feel like I've got to shout over it. Alright, so great. Let's clear out the systems. We do got access to a few more spoilers now. A second elevator, which is always good. Back up to the rudder. Ailerons are working again. And we've got another set of spoilers that we did not before. Anti-skid still not working. Normal brakes still going to be a problem. Auto brakes too. Green hydraulics, spoilers 1 and 5, Cat 3 dual, normal brakes, auto brakes, landing gear, retraction, reverser on the left side. So we'll just go idle reverse with the right engine and the blue electric pump. Okay. I think we can make it work regardless. It's like the autopilot's pretty much caught up to where it wants to be. So what I am going to do, let's get rid of that icon. You know what I think about it is just check height-wise. So actually down to 15 at Atnor. At Strap, it's more like, let's say 1500 also. At Sting is 3000, which is interesting because Sting's actually closer to Shet's, but Strap, as you see, there's 1500. Sting there must be some buildings over here that Strap avoids. So we can actually drop this down to 15. And we are on managed mode, aren't we? Indeed we are. Okay, we've dropped through 10, so landing lights on. Turn off wing lights. Done that down a tad, and standby compass, will turn that on just so that we can see it. I don't actually think any of the random failures have come on yet. It's just been the 2 hydraulic system overheats. As we approach Key West, that's, what's that, about 14 miles to our 10 o'clock-ish. I don't think we're going to see it in this weather. Does look like a nice part of the world. Actually, looks like we can see some sort of lights through the clouds. Must be a gap, and I wonder where we've seen some flashing lights over there. What appears to be emergency services. Probably waiting for me. I think that probably is where we're landing there. So there was a gap in the weather. Actually, gap in the weather repeated on the radar here. We see it was a lot greener before. Actually, it's a bit greener in the distance. This area much darker, indicating a lack of weather. Right, let's zoom in. Did we actually get... Yes, we did. Were we limited on flaps after the failures? Cat 3 single only slats or flaps are slow. Landing gear gravity extension. Okay, so we'll have to try remember that and get that out early. Even though it says certain things aren't going to work, auto brake and whatnot, I'm going to arm them anyway. Auto brake media. It actually doesn't work at all. Okay, so that's actually helpful in that it's going to let you know that it's not going to work. Not even give you the false hope that it might. Right, drop the range down to 10. And just for a bit of SA then, as we coming in for Key West, what was the runway 09? Oh yeah, this one then. Do we press on the left side? There we go. Key West 09. Gonna give myself a 5 mile fix off that, and by that time I want everything to be ready. There's the approach. Actually we'll go here so it's ready to activate, because we will need a bit of extra time, seeing as we're going to need to wind down the gear. If we take a look there, actually getting pretty close. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and activate the approach phase now, as we are still going in pretty fast. I can't remember if on the Neo you put the landing system on to get the what I call fake landing system, or if it's this Airbus where you only put the landing system on strictly for ILS only. As I always like to say, easy way to find out. And actually, yeah, look at this. We do appear to have access to the fake landing system, and so activated it is. We are slightly below the fake glide slope. So I think actually with this system, I'm sure somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I think I can actually go with the LPV minimums of 253 on the Barrow or 250 Radal. There we are, nice and below. Tell you what, we'll go ahead and arm the approach. Leveling-ish at 3,000. Although the autopilot will take us down to, well, looks like next stop. Well, I beg your pardon, it's 2,880, and it did do it. There we are now descending. Well, it could just be that we're in a turn. Currently doing green dot speed. I'm going to go ahead, get the flaps 1 put out, because we do have the notification about the flaps taking longer. Got all the notifications to remind us again. Yeah, look how long that extension is taking. So yeah, good call to get it out sooner rather than later. The localizer, or the, well, I guess the fake localizer has been captured. There is no ILS here as far as I'm aware, but certainly not dialed in. You see there, it's R&09. And looks like the fake glide slope has been intercepted, so down we go. So let's go flaps 2, because we're not actually far from the eyebrows.
2,500.
And I guess, even though it's manual gear extension, we put the lever down and then turn the handle as well. Again, I'm sure somebody can correct me, but let's go ahead to pull the handle. And we're going to turn it. And I can hear it going down, and that appears to be as far as I can turn the handle. Let's have a little look. And yeah, look, they are coming down by. Look how slow they're coming. And again, that's supposedly the gravity extension. Must be a bit of pressure doing it, but as well somehow. But yeah, I guess mostly gravity. All right, we're inside that 5-mile circle. So flaps 3. We'll ring the ding in the back. Cabin crew has been rung. Spoilers armed. And flaps full to go. There was no flap 3 limitation. It was just no cat 3. Right, flaps 3 it is. And we'll assume tower clears us to land, and with it, nose light is on. Right, let's kick the autopilot off. Actually make that, yeah, we can, there we go. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll put that on for this time. We'll see how accurate the Autoland's, the fake ILS is. I should have actually looked at what the go around is, but a bit late. But you know what they say, right? 3,000's in. Actually, the Airbus did a real good job of keeping it steady in the little lumps and bumps, considering one of the hydraulic systems remains out. I think what I'm going to do is a touch and go and pile a few more failures on, because again, none of the randoms kicked in. I'm dropping a little low. Recovered it though. I'm just going to move that slightly to the left because I can't see the wind information. There we go. So I see the wind changing, chopping and changing all the time by when the bottom suddenly drops out like that. Some very ill-placed trees there. They need to get the tree surgeon on the job.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5.
There's touchdown. And there's toga. And there's flaps 3. And there we go. And I guess with the wheels on gravity extension, and I think we did have a notification, we can't get those back in. I'm going to do away with this little overlay now, bugs me somewhat. So we've got this manual speed, this weird graphical glitch. I noticed this before, like there's like a trying to be fancy with a reflection on the FMC, but you can see it's actually worse than not. It's reduced from toga, max continuous to climb. Let's get the autopilot on, 2,000 feet. Thrust to climb. We are on the go-around track. Making our way to Burpee, surely. There's 3,000 feet. We're still on go-around track. Go on, direct to Burpee. There we go. Right, go-around procedure activated, and with it we can start cleaning up the flaps as well as we start picking up speed. There's flaps 2, flaps 1. Which I think we will keep due to the situation with the gear. Ah, it's noisy with gear out, as you'd expect at high speed. Let's do away with the armed spoilers, and I am going to stick us a few failures on now. More than we already have. So yeah, it doesn't actually appear that we got any of the random ones at all. Left bleeds straight away. And what's high lift? I mean, it sounds obvious, but I can't actually select anything, so I'm not sure what high lift actually is. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of lift, but is that a failure or what? Indicators. Air conditioning. Most of that won't really affect us. Auto flight is, I'm going to guess oh no, it's not just the autopilot. We've got the flight management stuff, computers. Let's go for it then. Let's go for both sides. For FMGC1. Let's start with all of these for now, and we'll set that tonight. When did Hasso Basso, when did 1208 beta come out? This is beta 2, and I saw an article about it literally in the last day or so. So I'm not sure exactly when the beta number 2 came out, but the article was from the last day or so, so I guess it was in last day or two. Either way, I'm going to apply these failures now. So there we go, master caution as we would expect. We've actually lost our flight path here. I wonder if we can get that back on. More master cautions. Auto flight, auto throttle is off as well. Engine thrust locked, we need to move those levers, so let's bring those back, seeing as the gear is locked down in any case. Set offside range mode. I guess what that means is it wants me to set this over to your side. But I don't really know. So that was the failure then, the nav system. I wonder if I can get the... Again, because I have no idea now. This is experimental to me too. I'm wondering if I can get some sort of VOR beacon, and I'm guessing Key West doesn't have one, although I'm not sure on that. They do have an NDB. Let's see if we can dial this one in. Known as Fishhook 332. Flight, where are we? Radios, ADF. What was the code again? FIS. I'm just going to turn that down a tad. It is a little noisy with the gear. There we go, 21 nautical miles. That'll be it. I'm going to put it in on your side and all. There we go. Let's get rid of the landing system, and it's weird that I still have the flight directors even though this system doesn't appear to be working anymore. Though I still do have wind information and heading, which is useful. I'm actually losing, look at a very high angle of attack. I guess I'm a little slow. Come on then. Where's my ADF? My side, your side. Do we see an arrow? Yes, we do, and there we see the heading. If I put this onto nav mode, there we go. So these arrows are pointing, or should be pointing towards the airfield. So I'm going to try doing an NDB approach. But I do want to give myself another failure, because this is still feels a little too easy. Flight controls, what else we got? Rid of it on your side. Let's try getting rid of the FAC2, and I'm just going to set it 60 seconds, and I'm going to do the same with something else as well. What else could we get rid of? FAC2R, I guess that's the reserve one. Either way, we'll set that one to go in 60 seconds as well. And then what else we got? FCU, guess we don't need that. Yaw damper. Yeah, let's lose the yaw dampers. And then I think we've got room for one more, last but not least. Fuel. Do we have a fuel leak? Yes, we do. A left-hand side fuel leak. I will have that straight away. Alright, I'm going to apply all of those. And we can actually, one more, I am just going to give myself a fuel leak on the other side as well, because that'll put the pressure on now. Alright, apply. There we go. So we've got a shed load of faults, some of which are about 60 seconds away. Let's have a little look. Where's the fuel? So both engines combined are using 135 pounds of fuel a minute. But I imagine the fuel's going to be tipping out much quicker. So there's the totalizer. Actually, the fuel flow isn't as... Well, the fuel leak isn't as obvious as I thought it would be. Maybe that's why we're not hearing the alarms. Or maybe the fuel measurement indicators aren't as sensitive as we're sort of led to believe. Alright, here the caution's starting to come through, I imagine. Let me just see the instructions here for the NDB approach. I'm going to turn my icon off. And so it looks like we need to fly towards the NDB, then head outbound on 251 before then doing this right-hand offset turn to double back on a final approach course of 071, which is actually looks like it's an offset approach. Turn to the right on final. So let's try it. So let's make our way to the beacon first and foremost. I gotta say, even just in simming with this aircraft, you really get a feel for how much redundancy there is. You can put so much wrong with it and it'll still fly. I actually think it's got more redundancy in it than the Boeing 737. Happy to be corrected on that, but so much of this appears to be in triplicate, whereas the Boeing, I mean, take the navigation systems, there's 3, the Boeing 737 we know has 2. Just one example. Alright, making our way then towards the NDB, so this is going to be it, if I can pull this off or not. And what's the height? Not that I'm going to be great at following it. NDB, when we head outbound, we go to 1,500 feet, out to 10 miles, and then come back in. Let's pick up the speed a little bit. Actually, one of your screens has failed. Look at that. So there are... I think that is the first random failure, I think. We come up top. Looks like the air conditioning pack, my side's gone, and I think that's a random failure. We've now got a master caution. I am over speeding, that's all. My fault. Seeing as we've lost all the automation. Let's work our way through some of these. So auto flight, auto throttle off, FMGC1 fault we've accepted. There we see all the faults with the hydraulics, which we already knew about from before. That's fine. Yeah, so once we're there, outbound 251. Be nice if they added some passengers in flight like you get on the Zebo 73. Actually see the lighting there over and above the cabin lighting. It sort of seems to flicker a little bit. Let's start our descent then. Yeah, I wonder what the lighting is, these police lights over here that we saw earlier on. Does look, that lighting actually does look really cool. It Maybe they are expecting our arrival. I don't know. Wouldn't that be cool? If Xplane knew that you were damaged and rolled the emergency trucks as part of it. Hopefully they'll add that soon. Before all the failures, yes, I was flying the approach with RNAV, but there's been that many failures. I'm now just doing NDB manually, and I did use the landing system, yeah, because this one, and again, this isn't the regular A321, this is the Neo, and the regular A320, I believe, does not want you to use the LS for RNAVs. The Neo does. I don't know why there was a discrepancy, but there was. Anyway, we're now not doing that because I'm on NDB. So we're over the cone of confusion. We lose the NDB marker there, so I'm now going to make my turn to 251. No, I save my camera presets. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Once we're on the ground, I'll show you how to do it. Because I'm going to be pretty much hands full until then. And that's what I use all the time, by the way, for streaming. Because track IR, which I do use for some games, I just find is not often helpful in Xplane. But yeah, I have my views saved for captain side, the middle, co-pilot, and then the captain left window, as well as the co-pilot's right window. I have the view safe for down here, the pedestal back here, as well as upstairs, there. But of course, these are saved as well as the passenger views, left side and the right side. I'll show you how to do that once we're down. In any case, I'm outbound on 251. This is good. I should have really set the timer on this, and I've gone far too low. But I was being distracted.
Too low terrain.
Blame Coeptus, who was asking me about saving views. Let's ring ding the cabin. There we go. Spoilers, I'm not sure if we can arm them, but we'll move them into the arm position regardless. We know auto brakes don't work, so they're not working. And I think that's going to be far enough for me. So I'm going to turn to the right now on 296 degrees, and I am going to start the time. I'm still getting too low.
Too low terrain. Too low terrain.
There we go. There we go. 296. I'm going to roll level. Joe, this is... It's weird flying this plane completely manually because it all the time normally is automatic. Let's start the stopwatch then, and I'm just going to give it 30 seconds and then turn round. Look at the speed dropping off. Right, there we go. We've gotten our height back more or less. I think we were supposed to be at 1500. Let's have a little look. Yeah, 1500 until we're heading back towards the airport. There we go. We're at the right height now. And there's 30 seconds, so let's make our turn back now onto a heading of 116 degrees. Very precise. I'm just going to dial it in here manually, so to remind myself, even though the autopilot is not working. Flaps 2. Gears out, rats out, spoilers are armed. And then there'll be no go around this time if I can help it. Let's come back over here to the performance page, activate the approach, confirm. And rolling level. There we go, 116. This is live weather over the Florida Keys, and as we can see, it's still quite gusty, although the lightning storms from 10-15 minutes ago appear to have moved on. I'm left a little bit more. And final approach, inbound 071 degrees, although we are expecting this offset approach with a little turn to the right at the end. So once we see these, which is now, let's make our turn to final. And so once we are facing the airport, we're allowed to descend from 1,500 feet. Down to 900. Apparently the NDB is on the way to the airport. Is that right? Yes, it is. Fishhook NDB, so 900 feet. Let's try. Down we go. Of course, we have no range information on this, but I can see it. Oh, there was a bit of lightning again. It's returned. It heard me getting all upset that it disappeared. And so, yeah, coming to the status page. As you can see, several things wrong with the aircraft. Right, there we go. NDB is roughly 70 degrees. That'll do. I said 071, but that'll do. I'll actually dial it on the heading as well. There we go. And there's 900. Tell you what, man, at night when the nav systems aren't working properly and there's no difference between sea or sky, the weather's been as bad as it has. You get no idea of how far you've gone because you're so busy in trying to fly the plane because it's not even flying in a straight line by itself anymore. That's sort of how long you've been going in a certain direction for a certain speed until you start focusing on that. You just lose all concept. And so we were much further out to sea then than I thought we were. So yeah, I guess even in the sim it's easy to get disorientated. I'll tell you what, the lights seem to reflect off the entire plane as though the plane is made of a mirror at night. It could just be that I'm using an older livery for the newer update. I don't know. Alright, let's ring ding the cabin for a third and final time. They're reporting ready and I'm going to smooth, or switch, should I say, to flaps 3. Preparation for landing. Flaps 4 to go. No auto brake is functional. Speed brakes are armed. Actually just popped over 900 feet with those flaps. Do you know what? I am going to try setting this up just this time. I never normally do this, but so it's a little easier to see on stream. There we go. Alright, so cone of confusion is coming up, as you can see. And we are to be at 900 feet at that point. I'm going to go flaps full now. And there goes the NDB. And now we make our way towards the runway. So we're passing the NDB there at 900 feet by. We've got a steep descent from there on.
Sync rate.
And it's the runway near here, not the distant airbase one. It's this one.
400. 100 above.
Tell you what, man, it's a pretty aerobatic approach for an airliner. They're probably... That's why they stick to the RNAVs, I reckon.
Speed, speed, speed.
Sink rate. Sink rate. Sink rate.
By those trees, man.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard. 10.
The plane feels really, really sloppy compared to normal. I don't know how else to explain it. Of course, we've got the engine failure on 1 for the reverser, so we're just going idle reverse and no auto brakes. So I'm standing on the pedals. More failures now. I'm not sure what they could be talking about, but there we go. Let's get rid of those overlays now. Stow the 1 working reverser. We'll put the brake fan on because those brakes are going to be cooking after that. And again, so many failures, but regardless, we've made it. I guess actually a lot of those failures were because we lost the rat. Once we fell below 140 knots on the runway, the rat that was deployed, that was providing us pressure on the blue system, disappeared. In any case, where are the wheels? So yeah, are you still there, Cooptus? Thank you, Freewalk. Where are we? Yeah, the controls, because normally, obviously, the Airbus is, you know, fly-by-wire, right? You move the stick and you let go and the plane sort of stays there. It felt really sloppy. Not even like a Boeing. It felt like it was... I was flying through soup. It was weird. Where are the wheel temperatures? There we go. Wheel. So you see 200 degrees and they're going to continue to rise for a bit. All right, let's get off the runway. Yeah, so to set your views, I use the numpad key. So with numlock turned on, press 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. But these are my custom views. So if you press 1, 2, well, actually 0 is a view as well. So there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's just the way I have it. And I have it like this on every single plane, so that no matter which plane I'm flying, I know which button to press to look where. And to set the view, all that you do is you manually move the controls. So you press, to do that, just press W, and that will always put you in the pilot's seat like this. And then all that you do is move around to where you want the view. So I'm using right mouse button to turn my view. I'm using the up, down, left, right arrow keys to sort of move my head, basically. And you could use your full stop and comma keys to move forward and back. And all that you do is move the view to exactly where you want it to be. And again, I want my pilot view to be exactly there because that's where I have it. This is the default view, which, you know, I prefer that view to that view. And so what I do is, once I've got the view exactly where I want, I press Control and the number 1. And then in the future, when I press the number 1 key, it's going to take me there. And so then what I do is I move the camera over like this, press Control number 2. I then move the camera over to the other guy's side to check that it's more or less in line. Yeah, happy with that. Control number 3. I then drag the mouse, right mouse button as I look outside. That's going to be control number 6 because that's going to be looking out the right window. I then press number 1 to jump back over here. Mouse into the left. Control 4 because that's going to be left. And then you've got view 1, view 2, view 3. Looking out the right window. Looking out the left window. Then obviously you do the same again for upstairs. I always have 2 upstairs. I have upstairs at the front. That's my view 7. Upstairs at the back, view 8. My view 9 focuses specifically at the tablet as opposed to out the window. So you'll be using that a lot, especially if you've got charts or, you know, your plane does this kind of stuff. And then last but not least, there's view 5, which I use to, you know, manipulate the doodah. There's view 0. And again, just control in front of all of those. Then what I do for the passenger views, but you will need to change a few controls, so I'll just show you briefly how to do it. But basically, I have 6 buttons, and they are the number keys on the keyboard. But they won't work by default, so I'll show you how to change it. But basically, my view 1 and 2 are the front passenger windows looking back towards the engines. My view 3 and 4 are sort of wing views. Again, 3 or the odd numbers are on the left side, just like that's where your engines are, right? Engine 1 is on the left, engine 2 is on the right. View 4 is the right wing, and then 5 and 6 are behind the wing. Same thing. And so to set that up, what you want to do is come up to your setup and come into your, where are we? Keyboard option here. And then where it says all, what you want to do is come over to your view. And where it says quick look, what you will already have by default are these ones here, because we've done those for the numpad. Numpad 1, numpad 2, numpad 3. Those are already set up as default, or should be unless you've changed it. What I want to do to add more views, as we've just done on the keyboard, is where it says view location 11, 12, 13 and all of that. Just put the numbers in here. So all that you do is where it says go to save 3D location 11, just click in the box, press number 1, and then when you've done it, it will fill in. It might ask and say, or do you wish to override some other setting? And for me, yes. I don't know what number 1 originally did. It maybe changed a flap setting or something. I don't know. And so set that up. But before you press OK, you want to do where it says to save the views. And just like with the numpad, you want it so it's control and number 1. And again, this saves the view. So control number 1 saves my view 11. And then number 1 by itself switches to view 11. And again, that may sound complicated. What's view 11, view 12, view 13, view 14? Well, once you've set it up for every plane that you have, it's very obvious. You know, button 1's always the pilot, button 3 the co-pilot, button 2 in the middle, 0 is down there, view 1 on the side of the passenger views. Alright, and so with that, I hope you found that useful, and until next time, from me here in a stormy Key West in a very banged out, clapped out, knackered Airbus A321, take care, ta-ra.